In the early 1930s, the United States adopted an isolationist foreign policy, avoiding involvement in other nations' affairs. This policy gained new momentum during the Great Depression. However, the Neutrality Acts of the late 1930s redefined this policy. The first of these acts, passed in 1935, banned the trade of war goods. In 1937, it expanded to include a cash and carry clause, allowing warring nations to buy non-war goods from U.S. ships, transferring them to their own vessels for transportation back home. This specifically aided Britain and France in their attempt to stop Germany's European conquest. In 1939, the clause was renewed to allow all goods to be bought from U.S. ships. Finally, in 1941, the U.S. passed the Lend-Lease Act, promising assistance to the Allies in the form of goods and weapons. Entering the war in December 1941, the U.S. mobilized troops to deploy them in Europe and Asia. In Europe, the U.S. joined the Allies to halt the German advance and reclaim conquered territory. Although Germany initially succeeded in its campaign across Europe, the D-Day invasion in 1944 shifted the tide in favor of the Allies. The war in Europe ended in 1945, following Hitler's last-ditch effort to curb U.S. advances at the Battle of the Bulge and his subsequent suicide. The war in Asia concluded when the U.S. dropped 2 atomic bombs on Japan, forcing its surrender just as the USSR joined the U.S. in the war effort against Japan. The causes of World War II are directly related to the outcomes of World War I, especially the Treaty of Versailles stipulations that punished Germany for its role in initiating the war. This treaty confiscated German lands, restricted its military power, and mandated reparations for the damages caused. Germany's economic and military power was severely limited. The Great Depression further threatened Germany's economic power, yet it still had to pay reparations. During this period, Hitler rose to power, promising a return to past prosperity. While in power, he secretly built an army despite the treaty's military restrictions. In 1936, Hitler led a German invasion into parts of France, Austria, and Czechoslovakia. Britain responded with a policy of appeasement, based on the belief that the treaty was unfairly harsh to Germany, justifying Hitler's actions. Only when Germany invaded Poland in 1939 did Britain and France attempt to halt Hitler's military advances by declaring war. In the 1930s, Germany and Japan focused on expanding their militaries and exerting power beyond their borders. Despite Versailles Treaty restrictions, Hitler secretly rebuilt the German army and aimed to dominate Europe. Germany's campaign began in 1936 by entering parts of France, Austria, and Czechoslovakia, and invading Poland in 1939 with the help of the USSR. Britain and its allies declared war in response. Germany's campaign continued into Denmark, Norway, France, Britain, and the USSR. Concurrently, Japan expanded its military power in Asia.